Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trident Talks, where we welcome Lisa and Tim, the co-founding team at Threatlight. They're up to some really interesting bits and pieces around the future of SecOps, instant response with code, or effective security, or whatever you want to say. We'll come into it. Tim, Lisa, thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Yeah, good to see you again, Charlie.
Thanks for having us. Good to be here.
We're really excited what we're going to cover because I'm really kind of passionate around next gen tech and actually reducing the noise within kind of security operations or the wider cybersecurity ecosystem. So before we dig into that, Lisa, would you like to kind of give a background on to who you are and how you're kind of doing what today, and then Tim, we can come on to yourself as well.
Sure. So nice to meet everyone, whoever you are. I'm Lisa. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Threatlight. So a little bit about me. My career, which spans across nearly 2 decades by now, has always been in startups and very high growth, high speed growth startups, which I started in a different industry, but about a decade ago or more, I shifted back into cyber, which for me was a very nice industry change. It was welcome for me. It felt very nostalgic. In my past, in my youth, I served in the intelligence directorate in the IDF. So it was a little bit kind of reminiscent of that, kind of like felt like coming home to things I really like to do. So it was a welcome change for me. I was always working in various roles but primarily on the customer side. So it was a lot about be it in customer success or account management, professional services, whatever it may be. It was always very, very close to the customers in that entire operation. So it made me really value the kind of what customer service is all about, what customer pains are all about, being their advocates and truly listening to them and bridging between them and the technologies, the companies, the vendors. So this stays with me to this day, and this is kind of a very important thing for me to set the standards high. I didn't mention that, but I'm actually in Tokyo. I've been living in Japan for 12 years. I studied in Japan back in university, and so I belong to many different worlds in a way, and I try to take something from each one. Sort of if it's we work a lot with the US, so if it's the US, it's the innovation. If it's Israel, then it's maybe the cyber, or maybe kind of the daring and the going through the wall. But when it comes to Japan, then I had the very hardcore corporate education of very, very high standards in customer service. So I'm basically picking and choosing from both, and they stay with me, and they define, I guess, the values that the operation of the company is built on. I think so I've been in the last decade, I was in cyber, and I was building out a lot of security services, professional services, SOC, incident response, advisory consulting, whatever it may be, very much like that. And I think after we touch on Tim's background, it will become more apparent how we decided to join forces and do what we do today.
Okay, it's a brilliant background, and it seems like this could be another successful IDF story. And I think customer success, that whole dynamic, especially in the last couple of years when there's a lot of consolidation and loads of different technologies and services out there, is so important now. A lot of individuals are very much, okay, let's sign the contract, let's get the service in, and they don't think the 3 year down the line point when it comes to renewal until the last quarter.
Exactly.
Tim, not quite IDF, but quite a similar background, right?
Yeah, so Tim, I'm CTO at Threatlight. I've been doing instant response, building, leading, running teams for the past 20 years, various companies, worked in defense, worked in Vendorland, which is where Lisa and I met. And for my sins, I'm still a serving major in the British Army Cyber Reserves. So I'm basically one of their subject matter experts for both instant response and red teaming. So I get to see interesting things, whatever side of my job.
Okay. So safe to say you're both well equipped to do what you're doing now, which brings us on to Threatlight. Tell me about the business. What is it you guys are doing now?
I'll start, and yeah, then we'll add whatever you want. So we started Threatlight after, as you heard, we've spent decades in the field and with vendors speaking to customers, and kind of all of these years of being up close and personal with all of that led us to a lot of realizations and things we thought were gaps on the market in terms of the offerings that were being offered to customers, or listening to customers and hearing what they're missing and what their pain points are. And through that, and through seeing companies go through incidents and having a very, very bad day, which lasted for a long time, it brought us to kind of an idea of how we would want to see security today. There were many times when we would think that things are being done inefficiently, or not modern enough, not scalable enough, way too expensive. We know that everybody is suffering from lack of funding, lack of resources for security, way too many tools, way overwhelmed. No CFO likes to pay dozens of analysts who sift through alerts that are not actually important. And we understand that every technology that is especially being put in the hands of a company that may not have the resources or the know-how to manage it properly, it becomes a very inefficient game, and cat and mouse chase and funding chase, and a lot of frustration. So we wanted to redefine how things are done, bring it into the current century, take advantage of AI to the best of its ability, but and give the right spotlight and a space to the expert in the loop, and make things more affordable for everybody, be you enterprise or not, more effective, focus on what's important. So the concept, our concept is basically, we call it response forward, and we're here looking through everything through the eyes of the attack, through the eyes of incident response, in a very focused way, looking only at real threats, not throwing alerts at you, not overwhelming the company with anything. Where it's speed, it's scale, it's what's important, it's targeted on business critical assets, which are no longer Windows, there's something else, and we specialize in all of those. Basically focusing on giving business reasonably sensible, at a reasonable, sensible cost, a solution to keeping business continuity and keeping their business protected. Tim, do you want to go a little more in detail?
I mean, you've covered it pretty well, but what we've essentially learned over doing sort of roughly 400 incidents during our collective careers as a team is what works and what doesn't. And customers will spend a lot of money on tools and techniques. They'll buy their SIEMs, they'll buy their EDRs. When we come in and do an incident, we don't use them. We use the tools of the trade to do the incident. EDR is very good at looking forward from when it's deployed, but very often there's gaps, and you need to use the forensic tools to do that forensic look back. We'll go in and we'll find the either the SIEM is incorrectly configured, it doesn't have the correct logs, or the data doesn't go back far enough because it's so far post incident. So what we started doing is building our own tool set, and then it became very apparent that tool set was also very good at covering the sort of what EDR and what SIEM, SOAR, XDR, whatever you want to call it, were doing as well. So we kind of built the platform to not only do the instant response and look back, but also to protect those critical assets. What we also see is, for EDR does a good job at protecting Windows. Attackers know that, and they have moved on. So Windows is not the battleground it once was. Attackers are prioritizing Linux, they're prioritizing Kubernetes. They're just taking down the ESXi hypervisors directly. Current solutions don't look at those because they're licensed on a per seat basis. That's not their revenue model. There will be a change, but we saw that as an opportunity, and that's a lot of where we focus, because that's where we see the attacks happening. Obviously we do cover Windows as well, but we cover what we see attackers actually targeting during an incident, and what we tend to focus on as a red team, which is a good flag for those that do use us as a red team. Where to focus when we're in.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
Sorry, Lisa.
Yeah, I was going to say that in every aspect of what we decided to do, we're taking concepts that are existing. Sort of the concept of detection is not something new. The concept of response is not something new. But we're taking every part of that, bringing them closer together to bridge that gap in the time lag that everybody suffers from when an incident is about to occur and how it's unfolding, and this is where you lose very precious time. So we're bridging that, and in every element of what we do, be it how we operate or a methodology, how we build the technology, how we educate our people, and how we perform the service, or even our business model, we've introduced kind of a new element that we've not seen before or we thought was missing. So we're really trying to redefine how security is done in that sense, and taking kind of the good and needed concepts, but pulling them up to where they need to be today and where they would be most effective for companies and customers.
Okay, I think you mentioned EDR, Tim, and a lot of individuals or professionals that I speak with purely think, right, EDR will prevent an incident for me. I mean, I've got EDR, that's great. Like, as you said, that's just one, it's not even one side of the coin. It's just one tiny fraction of an entire company's attack surface, right? The attack surfaces are now, they've more than doubled. They've become a lot bigger. So you kind of figure ways around that. This is a bit of a curveball question, Tim, but is there a way you could kind of consolidate the things that we've kind of discussed right now? What's the standard way to respond to an incident 5 years ago versus how companies or what you can kind of do now? What's the key differentiator between 5 years ago versus now? If you could summarize.
The vast majority of the attack chain hasn't changed. Like 5 years ago, we were seeing a lot of spear phishing, be it for APTs, be it for ransomware. That was where a lot of it was going. Truthfully, not seen with the exception of Japan, not seen a spear phish outside Japan for about 2 years. We're seeing a lot of compromises using sort of web shells, exposed systems. A lot of VPN compromises. Not mentioning any names, but there's two big VPN providers that seem to have a new remote code execution out weekly, and threat actors are leveraging those every day. Once they've had that initial infection vector, the vast majority of the attack is the same. It's always going to be escalate privileges, move laterally, steal data, maximize damage, leave. The problem we see with a lot of tools and what a lot of people market is, we detect ransomware. Well, great. Ransomware is the end of a very long attack chain that you've missed. It's like choosing a doctor that can only detect a terminal illness when it becomes terminal. Mm-hmm. No, you wouldn't choose your health practitioner in that manner. So why would you choose? To deliver ransomware, I need to gain access to your system. I need to escalate privileges. I need to get domain admin level credentials, or I need to get your ESXi hypervisor, username, password. I need to exfiltrate all your data, and then I need to encrypt. If you've missed the entire attack, you're too late at that point. You're coming in to document the damage, which is what we were seeing on a day-to-day basis. So we now prioritize and say, well, let's detect the actual privilege escalation. Let's detect the dumping of Kerberos, and let's instantly move. Then let's not escalate it up a chain of three engineers, pass it, dig out the phone book for the customer, which has been out of date because the guys have since moved on. And by the time it gets escalated and somebody makes a decision, we're at that final stage. So we pre-position on the critical assets and then make that instant pivot when we see it happening.
Yeah, I like that. I made a bold comment previously, but if we all invest a lot more time in preparedness and being ready to respond rather than being ever so reactive 3-4 days later, or whatever it may be, I think it'll be a lot easier for everyone to actually kind of respond when you need to. But Lisa, you mentioned customer success. This is something that I'd really like to kind of just dig a little bit into. What's the key thing for customer success within instant response right now?
The most important thing in customer success in general is a feeling. It's how you make them feel. And in incident response, I think they need to feel like they have the right people in the right place taking care of making it okay. Because throughout the entire security, what everybody is there for is so that whoever is your consumer, your customer, they need to be able to sleep at night. And when they have an incident, they're definitely not sleeping at night. So yeah, I think it's goes around the same sentiments, but they're much more intensified and emphasized. And it's super important that they can rely on you, they can trust you, they can trust your expertise, and that you have their best interest at heart. And usually for the business, it would be getting back to business, not losing their reputation, whatever it is. So yeah, it's the trust and the feeling that it's going to be okay.
Good
And
answer.
we know how. Yeah.
That's a good answer, because that was a curveball for the audience. So that wasn't pre-planned. You could tell the change of your tone of voice. It's quite genuine. And empathy is so important, because you're right. You don't know what's going on outside in someone's own personal life. You know, people have got so much more than a job. If they can't come home the entire weekend, what implications is that going to have, et cetera, et cetera. So I think everyone feeling valued and looked after is so important. The company overview sounds great, and you're both heading to RSA in a couple of weeks. You looking forward to that?
We are, yes. Yes. So we're RSA. We're going to be at B-Sides. I'm going to be at Hack the Bay as well. I'm actually doing a Red Team offensive talk at Hack the Bay. Yeah, excited to be doing that. Telling stories of crawling around car parks at 2 a.m. in the morning and compromising electric vehicles that shall not be named. So interesting talk if anyone's in San Francisco before RSA. And then, yeah,
we're Monday the 28th. They're announcing the schedule next week, but Tim's talk is confirmed. Yeah, I'm also talking at something, but it's not published yet, so that's to follow.
We'll keep an eye at the schedule. I think you mentioned you may be doing a cocktail party as well at some venue. I'm sure that will kind of be released. If everyone or anyone wants to reach out to you both at RSA, we make sure that the schedule's shared and just take a look. And if anyone's got any questions around what you do, I'm sure you're both welcome a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we're running the great AI scape. So we're deliberately non-AI, non-agentic, non-dashboard based cocktails as yet undisclosed location.
AI-based cocktails, because I'm not familiar with the concept yet. Yeah, but it's craft cocktails. It is password protected. We do have to keep the security. Yeah, so it's a very small event, and it's invite only. But if anyone is interested, reach out to us. And space permitted, we will definitely be happy to meet more new faces and more new people. It is coinciding sort of with with Threatlight's birthday. So we're very happy about that. Yeah.
Wonderful. We'll share the details. But Tim, Lisa, thanks for your time and sharing a bit of information around Threatlight, and we'll definitely catch up at RSA.
Absolutely. Thank you, Charlie. Look forward to it.